Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. It is not quite clear what Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan meant when he tried to pacify an irate opposition in the Rajya Sabha by saying that LPG subsidies were only going to be rationalized and not eliminated, since just the day before he said quite the opposite to the Lok Sabha. In a written reply, he said that the government has again authorized OMCs to continue to increase the effective price of subsidized domestic LPG by 4 rupees per cylinder effective from the 1st of June 2017 per month till the reduction of government subsidy to nil, or till March 2018, or till further orders, whichever is earliest. Given the current subsidy of around 50 rupees per cylinder thanks to the fall in global crude prices, as well as a steady 2 rupees per month hike in consumer prices from last year in July, if a 4 rupees hike is made every month and if global prices remain at current levels, the subsidy should be down to just 10 rupees or so per cylinder. Subsidies have fallen from 50,000 crore rupees in FY14 to around 15,000 crore rupees in FY17. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze if subsidies make economic sense. Joining me on the program today are Mohan Guruswamy, Senior Economist; Nitin Desai, former Chief Economic Advisor, Government of India; Praveen Jha, Professor, Center for Economic Studies and Planning, JNU; and T.K. Arun, Editor, Opinion, The Economic Times. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Desai, I'd like to begin with you. What do you make of the oil minister's statements about, doing away with LPG subsidy?
But I have no idea what he meant when he said that we are rationalizing and not doing it. And incidentally, the number that we have in the budget is for the difference which is borne by the government. The companies also bear part of the difference. The subsidy is about 86 rupees. The difference in price between what non-subsidized consumers like me would pay and what the subsidized consumer pays is about, this month is about 86 rupees, which if you take it over a year is about 1,000 rupees a year. So I'm not sure what he meant. Perhaps what he meant was that the price would become uniform for everybody and that some consumers would get a direct benefit transfer. Perhaps that's what he meant, that's the rationalization that he was talking about, but I'm simply interpreting. His answer is not very clear.
True. Mr. Arun, as far as LPG subsidies itself are concerned, oil subsidies have been the target of respective governments over the years, and this is not something new. In fact, in 2013 as well, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh-led government had brought in this rationing of, 6 cylinders per household or 12 cylinders per household. So it's been going on for a while now. Should we do away with LPG subsidy completely?
I think absolutely. See, LPG is superior to firewood. I mean, there's no quibble about that. And cooking with firewood is extremely harmful for the health of the people inside the house. So that way, LPG is far superior to using firewood. But we have to import 80% of our hydrocarbons, of this fossil fuels. So is it a good idea to use this kind of an imported item at a subsidized rate for domestic cooking? If you are able to actually use coal to generate power and supply that power effectively to all rural areas and urban households, and if people were to cook using power, you'll be using our own domestic coal without having to depend on any imported energy for this. So there are ways of actually mitigating the additional cost. So I think we need to think sensibly about what fuel to use and how to make that fuel available. As far as even gas is concerned, these subsidy amounts are actually a matter of fiction. Unless there is open competition in the marketing of cooking gas, with private players also competing with these three PSU marketing companies, you don't really know what the real price of gas is. These guys can collude and say this is the price.
Right.
How you account for the depreciation on your cylinders will change the price of the cylinder and the subsidy you claim on this. And plus, this is subsidy after taking into account all kinds of taxes. So, if you throw this open to competition, then you will get the real extent of subsidy on these things. I think the subsidy actually is far less than what they claim it is. And right now, there are three prices for LPG. As Professor Desai said, there is an element of cross subsidy which is charged to commercial LPG consumers.
Right.
Then domestic consumers have two prices.
Yes.
One is for the poor and the other for the non-poor. So there is an element of cross subsidy, then there is a government subsidy on domestic LPG, and there is a domestic government subsidy on real consumers. Now, if you are able to unify the price and pay subsidy only to the poor, that will be rationalizing this thing. But the real question is, should we be using LPG as a fuel for this? In cities and towns, piped natural gas makes far more sense.
Sure.
So it doesn't have any subsidy and still the price is low.
Right, right.
And we should completely eliminate the use of kerosene for cooking.
Indeed.
It was only meant for lighting, and to use it for cooking is a thorough misallocation of resources, and we should
Sure.
not subsidize it.
Sure.
And for lighting, we should have solar lanterns if you are still unable to ensure that electricity reaches rural areas in the case of every village. So there is scope to rationalize these kind of subsidies without doing much damage to consumers at home. We
Indeed.
should explore those options.
Indeed, indeed. Options should be explored is what you're suggesting. But Professor Jha, I'm interested to know what you think of this whole thing, as far as subsidies are concerned. Do you believe that subsidies or the oil subsidy should have been done away with long time ago?
You see, the basic point which I would want to put on the table is that subsidy is an important component in any civilized society, precisely because households, citizens, etc., are at very different levels of well-being. So, if you look at across the world, and if you look at the best performing societies, for instance, you do find that a great deal of their requirements do get subsidized either through direct public provisioning or through giving them basic income support, etc., etc. So, the idea of subsidy being something a terrible, waste and so on and so forth is an idea which must be discarded right away. Right? Coming specifically to oil subsidy, now if you look at the way it is being handled over the years, and the point which was raised in the Rajya Sabha and by various politicians, etc., that why don't you, in a narrow sense, if you want to connect it with something, why don't you connect it with the oil price and what's been happening with that? Now, if that has been coming down over the years, particularly the last 3-4 years, I mean, the current government has been a major beneficiary in some sense of that bonanza. What is the hurry to sort of try and do away with this almost a small component? Yeah, I mean, they're arguing that by doing what the government is doing right now, proposing to do right now, it probably will sort of save what? Maybe 10 to 15,000 crores at most.
Sure.
Right? Now, if that is the calculation, then is it making any sense at all to put this kind of difficulty which very large sections of our poor households are going to face?
Okay.
For them it's really important, even 4 rupees, 2 rupees, if you look at their, let me just give you one stat, for instance, if you look at, let's say, the average annual income of our farmers, we are talking of something like 36,000 crores per year, and if you look at their average debt, it's about 47,000 crores. Now, if you are looking at that kind of situation, then anything in the nature of an increased burden
Sure, okay.
is
Fair
something which is a problem.
But are they using gas is the question really. But
Now the coverage has increased.
Okay,
Many
fair
of
enough.
them are using
Let me move on to my
LPG.
other guest as well, Mr. Guruswamy. Let's broaden the scope of the debate and talk about subsidies on the whole. Do they make economic sense?
You see, there are two kinds of subsidies. Some subsidies are merited subsidies. For instance, good quality education has to be subsidized because it meets requirements of a large section of the population. There's healthcare subsidies, merited subsidies. There's unmerited subsidies, like gas, which is 85% is used in urban areas. 85% of that 85% are middle and upper classes, totally unmerited, but gets heavily subsidized. You've got fertilizer subsidy, consumed by large farmers, average of 5 to 10 acres of land with irrigated land. And the dry lands of India, 60% don't use fertilizer, no subsidy there. Procurement. All the procurement, 90% of procurement takes place in Punjab, Haryana and coastal Andhra. And 10% rest of the country. So to that extent is a subsidy. When you don't collect, when you don't make profits in electricity boards, it's a subsidy. When you don't make profits in Air India, it's a subsidy. So we got all this huge cascade of unmerited, unwanted, unknown, unwritten subsidies, which really add to our burden. So today, what is the problem? We don't have money for investment. We
Sure.
don't have the money to build anything new. Everything you see around you is dilapidated and gone. Your high courts are in bad shape, your roads are in bad shape, your district administration offices are in bad shape. Everything is horrible because there's no money. Now you need to get out of this business of saying that, you know, the state's job is to subsidize, and the people who write those laws eat it up all themselves. Okay, so I think this is a small step, even 4 rupees.
Hmm.
It's an undeserved subsidy, as Arun very nicely explained. Even Praveen's farmers are not going to be using it. So, you know, I think taking it out bit by bit
Sure.
is a good idea.
Okay.
And you're making, there's a principle there that unmerited subsidies we will tackle. And that principle is slowly being established, and it is forced by necessity. You don't have money for capital investment, you want to get it out from somewhere else.
Okay. So how do we do away with subsidies, Mr. Desai? How do we systematically do away with it?
I don't think anybody would argue for completely doing away with subsidies. There is a logical, sensible case for subsidies which can be made on 2 grounds. One ground is where the private benefit is much less than the social benefit. When you subsidize something because you want to encourage people to do it. I'll give a very extreme example is, of course, immunization. That I should give free immunization because if I immunize people, I'm delivering a benefit to many others. But to a certain extent, for something like LPG, one could make a case, even on social grounds, for saying there's a discrepancy between the social and private benefit. The social benefit of people switching from firewood to LPG. And incidentally, it's not quite as restricted as it is now. We have 21 crore households are now using LPG. Now that 21 crore you don't get if you say it's only being used by rich people. It is being used by many others also. That is one case. Difference between social and private benefit. The second case is when you can make a case for it on redistributive grounds. You can say that I have a system which is not allowing certain people to reach a minimum level of dignified living. And I can justify subsidies. So let's not get into this argument and say subsidies are always bad. What you have to get rid of is unmerited subsidies. It is estimated that the demerit subsidies, as they are called, are today about little more than 5% of GDP. Now that's a big number.
Sure.
5% of GDP is a big
It's
number.
a big number, very big
and
number.
So I would say if I had to tackle something, I would start with certain demerit subsidies, of which there are many. I would not have rated the LPG subsidy as that. And incidentally, one of the things I must say that the real problem is it's very easy to do this when prices are down. We did the diesel in 2002 or 2003, I think, and immediately had to reverse it 1 year later when oil prices shot up. Will they stick with that decision of no subsidies when oil prices go up, say, to $100 a barrel, and you have to double the LPG price? Will it still remain this business pass on everything? So apart from that, the government must be clear about political feasibility also before they jump into this. They've done it in the past and have had to reverse themselves. So I won't argue against subsidies, but only against demerit subsidies.
Fair enough.
And
Point
urge
taken.
we start with that.
Sure.
And one final point I want to make before, people talk a lot about our, the subsidy to farmers, fertilizers, food. If you really look at it, fertilizer subsidy is a subsidy to the producer because a farmer is not getting his fertilizers at the traded price, at the international price. If you were to have that, your subsidy bill could well come down on average. Similarly, in the case of food, he's not allowed to trade his food. He does not get international prices for his food. So why do you say it's a subsidy to him?
Sure.
Or her, for that matter, let me be very frank. So I'd say that be clear as to who you are subsidizing.
Fair enough. Point well taken and very well analyzed.
Yeah, that is the reason you ended up with demerit subsidies.
Sure.
There wasn't enough thought given to who actually is going to benefit from this.
Sure. Mr. Arun, then, so is a subsidy then a social obligation as is being pointed out by the left parties and Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal?
See, that should not be the debate. Every civilized society has to give subsidies to certain sections of people and for certain activities. But the question is, in India, a whole lot of money is being wasted in the name of subsidy. You take food subsidy, for example. who would say that you should not make food available at an affordable rate to the poor? Absolutely right. But in the name of food subsidy, what do? We subsidize large-scale inefficiency in the Food Corporation of India. Pilferage, spoilage of food, subsidize. Excessive labor costs in the handling of food, subsidize. Mandi tax at the rate of 14% in Punjab and near about the same in other states where procurement takes place. It's effectively a way of central devolution to these states. That money goes from the food subsidy budget. Is it really food subsidy? It is going to the government of Punjab or the markets of Punjab. This is not food subsidy. So there are various ways in which you are dressing something up as subsidy, but it's not really subsidy. So these kind of things are to be eliminated. You take the case of, the whole subsidy on irrigation, subsidy on fertilizer, subsidy on power for the farmer. These are money that is being wasted. If the same amount is used as investment in the farm economy, the farmer would gain far more, the economy would gain far more, and we would have much better productivity and cheaper food. So it's a question of how you spend your money. It's not just a question of attacking subsidy. Certain things have to be subsidized. For example,
Sure.
the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. It's called an employment guarantee scheme. It's actually a subsidy scheme. When there is no work in certain seasons of the year, you are selecting people who deserve subsidy by asking them to turn up for manual work. So presumably, the village pradhan will not turn up for manual work. So only those who really deserve this dole will turn up for manual work, and that is the only purpose of asking them to do some manual work, but it's actually a dole. So those things are required. That allows people to, as Praveen said, lead a dignified life. So that subsidies are required. But the much of what the government spends in the name of subsidy is inefficient way of spending money, where a far greater social gain would be derived by spending that money elsewhere on health or
Fair enough.
education.
Let me get in Professor Jha on that point. The point that T.K. Arun is making about how all of this money that is being used on subsidy can be actually put to use somewhere else and in return benefit those people who really need it. And also, let's not forget, you spoke for subsidy earlier in the program, but are these subsidies really reaching the targeted audience?
You see, this point was made earlier by both Mr. Desai and Arun as well as Mohan, that you obviously have to examine very carefully who's sort of benefiting and whether it is deserving, who are benefiting, etc. All that is true, and for that one needs a very nuanced kind of analysis, etc. But the simple point is that it's not a question of trade-off between subsidy versus investment. There is a part of subsidy which could be rationalized, and if you have to rationalize that, why don't you look at 7 lakh crores of exemption? Why don't you maybe reduce that 7 lakh crores of exemptions to, let's say, 50% of that, and target that for investment purposes, which of course is a crying need in the country. I mean, there's no question about that, right? But I mean, instead of talking about those subsidies, exemptions, etc., targeting something which possibly is a measly amount in the larger scheme of things, 10 to 15,000 crores or whatever, and where, in fact, as Mr. Desai pointed out, that the coverage actually has increased from about 16.8 crore households to actually the latest figure is 23.7 lakh crore households today, right? Now, that's a very substantial kind of improvement in terms of using LPG over all kinds of other options, fuel options and cooking sort of firewood, etc., etc. So, targeting that seems to me barking up the wrong tree. If you really have to sort of get concerned in a serious fashion about subsidies, look at other things. That would be my position on this matter, right? And of course, investments we need to step up, and for that a whole lot of possibilities are there, provided the government is interested in resource mobilization. Also, instead of LPG, what could be the other options, etc., all that can be explored, but all that cannot be done overnight. So all this will have to be part of a plan. The question to ask is, a good question to ask is, does the government have a plan, right? Is it sort of thinking of next 5 years, how to sort of think of environmentally friendly sort of possibilities and options? Does it have a plan which would say all right, let's dependence on external sources, let's try and bring that down. All this have to be put on the front burner, certainly.
Sure,
right?
okay.
But doing this at this point in time, to my mind, is a complete no-no.
Okay.
It does not give you very much. It puts a very substantial section of the households to some difficulty, and that is completely undesirable.
Okay. Mr. Guruswamy, you spoke about taking small steps. You know, a lot of your comments by Professor Jha also talking about how, you know, holistic approach needs to be adapted. How serious do you believe is this government as far as doing away with subsidies are concerned, and is there a plan in place really? Can we see the government going the same way as the LPG way when it comes to fertilizers and other kind of subsidies?
Well, this government, like any other government, is very serious about coming back to power again. When you're coming back to power, you deal with public opinion. You're worried about people mobbing you and, you know, storming and railing at you in newspapers and forums like this. So, you know, you go easy on this. So, you know, so I think to that extent they suffer from the same constraints. But, you know, Praveen made an important point on foregone revenues. I think that's a huge hole. It's in a way, it's a kind of subsidy also. I think that also is something which needs to be looked at. I think we've got to look at foregone revenues and wasteful expenditures all together holistically, and see how we can get more money in rebuilding India, building things anew. So, you know, rather than just focus only on subsidies, it's very easy because you can always point at somebody. You're giving away lots of money which you should be collecting in different ways to industry in particular. You know, there are all this NPAs also lying. So you've got to take a complete target. But how many constituencies can this government take on? If they take on all those constituencies, can they fight the next election? And that's the political economy comes in, where sometimes we just wait till they're compelled. We run out of money, so there's no investment, so we're forced to do some small things. You know, when we had run out of, when completely broke, we brought in reforms. I'm forced it down our throats. So I think we are all waiting for that, you know, because among our own people who should be thinking and people, there's no consensus. You know, we keep arguing on this. I think we've got to separate what is happening in all this. Money for education not available, which is a merited subsidy. Money for healthcare is not available. We're giving it away to people who don't deserve this money. Public sector is a big subsidy. Power loss is a big subsidy. I think we need to tackle all this, which means power costs have to go up. We can't give it away free. So these are all tough decisions. I don't think we're going to get any government which will tackle all of this together.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You know, no government is going to tackle all of these together, but what needs to be tackled at the earliest, Mr. Desai?
I would say that if I had to say first coherence, you look for efficiency in the way in which you're deploying government expenditure and government effort for purposeful ends. Be clear about what, for instance, as Arun rightly mentioned, a large part of the food subsidy is really subsidizing gross inefficiency in FCI and grossly inflated salaries. I mean, I was looking at the numbers on how much the loaders earn in FCI, and I was shocked. It runs into lakhs a month, and because of deals that now I feel very, as a taxpayer, I feel very aggrieved if my tax is going into something which is ultimately just paying some astronomical salaries to very inefficiently used staff. So I'd say if I had to look for an organizing principle, I would say the organizing principle should be efficiency and effectiveness of public expenditure. Look at subsidies as part of that. Look at taxes foregone as part of that. Look also at the way in which public delivery mechanisms work as part of that.
Sure.
So keep a coherence in what you're trying to do across the board and have a long-term plan. I'm doing this because by 2030 I want such and such shift in India's energy policy. So if I today give subsidies for electrical cars, I won't sneeze at it, even though it's going to be used by rich people.
Fair enough. I've got 2 minutes left on the program, so quick closing comments from everyone else as well. Yes, Mr. Goswami.
I think, you know, Nathan touched on something very important. Government has to sit down and say, look, this is what we want to achieve. So many million new jobs a year, so much more production capacity, so much more shift to industrial sector is part of GDP, all this, and then say, where is the money coming from? And then go about getting money to meet those schemes. I think that's the way to work it out. Then you can sell it to people.
Okay, fair enough. Professor Jha, your closing comments on the program.
See, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, this is very much like barking up the wrong tree. This is, and I don't even understand why the government is really pushing so hard to do away with something which possibly will not result in any great savings and will cause a lot of discomfort, right? So this whole exercise about subsidy, I think the government really needs to become very serious about it, has to have a much more coherent thinking about it, has to think in terms of a much larger framework, and all the issues have been put on the table.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Arun, finally, can we conclude by saying that, subsidies are part of the system, they are here to stay, they will continue to be part of the system as well, and probably baby steps like the 4 rupees LPG, increase is the way forward.
See, you need coherence, as Dr. Desai said. That is missing. One day in Parliament, the Prime Minister said the employment guarantee scheme is the biggest monument to failure in India's history. Next year, after a drought, he took credit for increasing the outlay on the same employment guarantee scheme. So there is no coherence in the government's approach to what you should spend money on, how you can, where you can save expenditure. So what we primarily require is a holistic assessment of your entire government finances, your tax collections, how you collect it, and how you spend that money and where you spend it. So subsidies can be tackled only as part of an overall consolidation and nationalization of your total public finances.
Okay, fair enough. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Guruswamy, Nitin Desai, Praveen Jha and TK Arun, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have today. See you again next time.